In honor of the new Pokemon movie, my wife has decided to evolve into her second form of Multi-Haremon. That's a Digimon name if I ever heard one. That's not even... Multi-Shell, I guess would be like the more Pokemon related one. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
Yes, and this is our post-Geekout reaction for the Detective Pikachu movie. And I feel like, oh my goodness, our own little Pokemon partner, our own little Rockruff here is going ballistic. It's okay, buddy. Chill.
Nice.
I feel pretty confident in saying we finally have a good video game movie.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people out there are going to say, well, what about Mortal Kombat? Because they've been saying that to me nonstop. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what about the animated video game movie adaptations? Like, okay, fine. Live action adaptation.
Yes.
And Mortal Kombat is a fun movie, and it's arguably a good film. But we need to stop having arguably good video game movies. We need to finally have a good video game movie. Mm-hmm. I feel like we finally have that. Mm-hmm. Problem is, it still has that big ol' asterisk there at the end of, if you are a fan of the source material. If you, or not even a fan, if you are aware of the source material. Because this movie does not stop to introduce new people to Pokemon at all.
No.
And it's so weird to me that the video game live action films out there, they always just mess up like one thing. They still like miss that like one ingredient here. And here's like, oh my goodness, you have like likable characters. You have a story that's actually got some twists and turns and goes from point A to B. Very good. You have good acting in here. Okay.
Good effects.
Good effects. Very good effects. Okay. But you forgot that you need to also make this accessible to the non-Pokemon fans out there. But
it's like considering like how popular and widespread and well-known Pokemon is, I can kind of understand that they don't.
If they had done this with any other franchise out there, I would have been like, guys, oh my god, why did you not think this out more? But because it's Pokemon, a worldwide phenomenon, I'm just like, you know what? If there's anybody out there that you could have done this with, it's probably this.
Yeah.
This actually, I'm not going to take too many points off of that because it actually does kind of work. That being said, there's still a few other little things that we'll nitpick in as we go into this. But another thing that I got to point out is that this movie is made for children. Like, I feel like it is worth mentioning. This movie is made for children. However, I feel like it's worth mentioning. It's Pokemon. I'm totally fine with that. It kind of should be aimed at a younger audience out there, but there's enough in here for an older audience as well.
I kind of had like this Who Framed Roger Rabbit vibe to it
because... It does kind of have that vibe.
Because even though there's like a mystery going on and there's like a lot of like dark themes, there's still like a lot of like light humor and entertainment for the kids.
Yes.
So...
I'd say it's almost in a weird way like the proportions are just shifted from Roger Rabbit, because Roger Rabbit, I feel like it's mostly aimed at adults with enough stuff in there that the kids will enjoy. I feel like this one's mostly aimed at the kids with enough stuff that the adults will enjoy.
Right.
Like just like that.
Yeah, just a slight shift.
But what this movie is about is it is about this kid, Tim, which he's not a kid, he's like 21 years old.
Yeah.
They keep talking about him like he's a little kid, but then they also keep mentioning that he has a job as an insurance agent, and he's been working there for so long that he's about to get a promotion. So it's like, yeah, you're not really a kid anymore.
Although we are in a world where people send like the kids off into the forest with Pokemon, so who knows how the
age structure
the age structure works. So.
Also, heck, man, if this was even the real world, you could be a 21-year-old with a job as an insurance agent and still have to live with your grandparents. Yes. Because the economy just sucks that bad. Like, yeah, that's just kind of how things are. I'm not going to come in here and argue with any of that. He one day gets this call from the police department at Rhyme City.
Yeah, where his dad works.
Is a detective, and his dad has died. And he gets there, and you really start to learn more about this kid. And I gotta admit, they go way deeper on this kid than I was expecting. Like, they start talking about how, yeah, his mom passed away, and because of that, his dad kind of like drifted away from him. and then his dad moved away, but he didn't want to go and live with his dad because over time they had lost their connection. But the dad wanted to come and live with him so they could reestablish that connection. But you could also understand, like, he's got all this stuff about the death of his mom weighing on him, and he kind of associates the dad with that. And
like, also, like, his mom died when he was about to, like, go to, like, a Pokemon tournament or something?
It's not really that she died at that, but it's more like that's when the stuff happened. Like, she died of, like, cancer or some kind of a disease. Like, it's never said.
No.
She dies of that, like, Disney parent disease where it's like, they're just not here anymore. But
it's like...
She died of the sickness, the classic movie death cause.
But it's like, I felt like that also, like, had something to do with the reason why he did not want to associate with Pokemon at all either.
Yes, because he also, like, when he was a kid, being a Pokemon trainer was his dream. And, like, he was obsessed with Pokemon. But as time went along, like, it's very clear, I don't care about Pokemon at all anymore. And in Rhyme City, they even, like, this is a plot point in here that every human has a Pokemon that they're like this. Like, they're their Pokemon partner in Rhyme City, where they do, like, a little intro to Rhyme City, in which they say, yes, here, there's no trainers, no battles, no one...
no Pokeballs.
No Pokeballs, that's what I'm trying to say, yes.
All the Pokemon are allowed to roam free wherever they want with their humans and everything.
Yes, like, side by side, like, Pokemon, like, live free with the humans here. Which kind of makes me feel bad about all the other cities out there now.
Yeah.
I do like, though, that I mentioned that they need to do some stuff in here to kind of, like, introduce it to the non-Pokemon audiences out there. I do like that at the beginning, there's a moment where he's trying to catch a Pokemon because a friend of his is trying to be like, come on, man, I feel like you would really enjoy having a Pokemon. It's like, I don't really want a Pokemon anymore. Come on, man, just, you can do it. Which I can't remember the name of the actor who's playing his friend, but he's one of those guys who, he's quickly becoming that guy who you just see in movies. That guy who's like, he's not the star of any movie, but you instantly see him and go, I know you, but from what? I've seen you in like 12 things, but I can't figure it out. So he's got a cushy career going for him. Good for that guy.
And it's like, of course, and like, I love the fact that he tried to like catch a Cubone for him.
Which, you want to talk about the fact that they don't really do a whole lot in here to introduce the non-Pokemon fans in here to the world of Pokemon. He's trying to make him catch a Cubone. It's like, yeah, man, Cubone, it'd be perfect for you. Really? And our audience, laughed at that. But I can imagine how an audience member...
Who doesn't know about Cubone.
There's one guy there with his kids who's just like, how's everyone laughing about Cubone? Why is everybody laughing at this guy? They do put some stuff in there. Like, the Cubone's crying when they see him. So it is like, okay, so even like non-Pokemon fans would get like, okay, it's kind of like a sad Pokemon or something, but
it's like,
if you know Cubone, you get a whole other level from that joke.
Yeah, and then you find out that his mom dies, like, oh, ouch,
shit,
ouch. Yeah. That hurt. That's...
Yeah.
Ow.
That brings the Cubone thing right back around. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. But as I mentioned, when he's talking about him like that, it's like, okay, but remember, you can't just choose it. You have to also make it choose you. So I do like that because it is like them kind of coming in here and going, yeah, there's a lot of people out there who look at this and they think it's dogfighting. We kind of have to come in here and clarify, no, you and your Pokemon are actually friends. Mm-hmm. Like, you're actually working together. This is like, you going and playing soccer with your buddies when you go to the Pokemon battles. It's not like actually like dogfight or anything like that.
I was thinking more like a karate sparring.
Something like that. But yeah, it's some kind of a sport that you do with someone. It's not like, getting your pet to fight another pet out there. I do like that they had that one line in there about, yeah, man, you gotta make it choose you to make it feel like, yeah, okay, you have to be friends. And the rest of this movie, it does kind of give you this feeling of, hey, Pokemon and humans are friends with each other. So they did kind of address that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I really feel like that is the most that they do for the non-Pokemon fans out there. If you don't know anything about Pokemon, yeah, you're not really going to get anything else on this.
Sorry.
Yeah, and that's why, again, I'm still like, I do think that this is a good movie. But man, it's still missing that one little, like, you forgot that one ingredient that makes it so you can serve it to everyone out there. But again, it's Pokemon. I feel like at this point, you can just advertise stuff to the Pokemon fans out there and you're fine.
Yeah, honestly, it got me thinking about, like, the animated Pokemon movies and how they would, like, actually have, like, this entire dialogue explaining the Pokemon world.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are, like, how many animated movies, and
there's like 20, and every single one of them, you have entered the world of Pokemon, where humans and they do have something in here a little like that, which is a nice little. I felt almost like it was a nice little reference to the games, because every single new game that you pick up, it starts with the brand new professor coming out there and being like, in this world there are things called Pokemon, and they do this and that, and blah 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 blah, to introduce you to it. When he is on the train on his way to Rhyme City, a little TV is in the backseat of the chair from him, and comes on and goes, "Welcome to Rhyme City. In this land, you are not," and it does give you a little introduction to Rhyme City. Not to the world of Pokemon, which I do feel like it would have been nice if we had gotten that, but I felt like that was a nice little reference. I feel like they put that in there specifically to be a reference to how the game starts.
Yeah.
So I did kind of like
also,
that.
It did, introduce, the guy who created the city.
The city, yeah, and the guys, two people who are going to be major players in this, which at this point we should go along and mention, this is for kids. You have to come in here and remind people that it is fine for adults. It is fine for adults. If you are a Pokemon fan, you're going to enjoy this no matter what age you are. No matter what age you are, you're going to enjoy it. But if you are older, you are going to find yourself sitting there going, this is it's a mystery, but it's kind of a dumbed down mystery to make sure that the kids out there are fine. Because, the moment that the villain of this movie is introduced, it might as well just went bad guy.
Honestly, Roger Rabbit was kind of the same way. It's I remember Judge Doom popping up. He's scary. He's a bad guy.
Very much so, yes. And just like this movie, there is a twist with the villain, but it's still they're the villain. It's still, even when they're trying to make you think this guy is not the villain, he's so the villain. Man, if you even just know anything about movies in general, the moment you see this actor, you're going to be like, villain, bad guy. It's like when Sean Bean pops up in a film, it's like, well, he's going to die. When this actor pops up, it's like, well, bad guy. But again, it's for kids, and it's kind of this is little Joey and Susie's first mystery film. It's okay, it's fine for that. It's totally fine for that. And again, as a Pokemon fan, there's enough other stuff in here that really entertained me. That I didn't really get bothered that much by the stuff that was being dumbed down in here. But again, even if you are not a Pokemon fan, I can come in here and say, while you are going to be confused by almost everything in here, it's a good enough story with solid enough acting. That's one thing that I really have to give this movie, is that so many times when you have these crazy fantasy worlds that are being adapted, like from a game or a comic or something, you will have big actors in there. And the actors will read off some of the dialogue about these things, and you can tell they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You can tell they have no clue what's going on.
Sometimes I can understand why it can be difficult, because you were literally acting to nothing. So you...
Also, a lot of times they'll go, here's all the mythology you have to spout out of your mouth right now. It's I don't understand any of these words, so I don't know the right emphasis to put on anything. But here, you've got some big class actors in this movie, and they give it their all, man. They actually act like they know what the hell they're talking about. What's his name? Justice Smith, the guy who's the protagonist in here, the guy who plays Tim.
Yeah.
There's moments in which he is screaming out, Pikachu! It feels like he is screaming for his Pikachu. It's all right, you got Bill Nighy in this movie. Bill Nighy, this old stubby British guy in there, when he's talking about, yes, the Pikachu and the Flareon and this Pokemon here. I was like, yeah, it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I can buy this. I'm totally on board with that. But yeah, he has to go. But Tim finds out that his dad has passed away. He goes to Rhyme City. He goes to clear out his
apartment.
His dad's apartment. Which, yeah, it's kind of shocking that, again, it's aimed at kids, but there's some, sad stuff in here, man. And when he gets there, he finds a Pikachu, and for some reason, he can understand this Pikachu, and the Pikachu belonged to his dad. Like I said, every human in this world has a Pokemon that they're just in sync with. It's their partner. This was his dad's Pikachu. There is, and they do have to then go out and solve this case. And I actually really like the progression of watching Tim slowly come to have to deal with I don't want anything to do with this. No, trust me, my dad, he's passed away. I know that you're just giving me hope about this, and it's not real. And my dad and I, we never even got along to begin with. We haven't even talked to each other in forever. But you do watch like this progression of him like going, okay, well maybe we should go and investigate this. Maybe you're onto something here. And also the progression of watching him slowly learn that his dad did care about him. I thought that stuff was great. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that in here. Because so often you get those movies where it's like, Dad's so busy with his work, he never has time for me or anything like that. And, you know, it's one of those...
it's very cliche movie
It's very
types.
cliche. And also it's one of those things where it's like, I understand the argument, but so many movies phrase it as, yeah, well, fuck you for putting food on the table. This movie doesn't really do that. This movie actually sets up a reason why this kid would have problems moving in with his dad after everything that's happened. And it sets up reasons why the kid would think the dad doesn't really want him. But then as he's there in the dad's house, he slowly does just really realize, oh, shoot, no, he did really want me here. And he did think about me a lot, and I was important to him, and I'm the one who pushed him away. There's a really emotional moment in here in which Justice Smith, that guy's going to be big. He is going to be big. Mark my words right now, he is just pouring his heart into this scene where he is just really getting into like, oh man, I've missed all the time I could have spent with my dad. God, it is really emotional. Yeah, I freaking love the father-son story that goes through this and watching the progression of how all that lays out in here. I think that stuff is great. That's one of the reasons why I can come in here and say, even if they screwed up by not making this that accessible to wider audiences out there, I can still point at this and go, this is a rock-solid story in here. It might be dumbed down at points for kids, but... I mean, the heart of it's still there. This is a good story with good acting, and it's actually structured well. I gotta give it points on that. But as it goes along, they do end up meeting several other characters in here, which I was actually kind of shocked at how few humans there are in this movie. There are a decent number of humans, but at the end of this, it gives you the list of people who actually had names in here.
Yeah, who actually had, like, speaking
and
roles.
It's like that. And I went, oh, yeah, shoot. It really is a lot of Pokemon interactions in here.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the actors are like in the background and everything.
I mean, this is a populated city. They put money into this thing.
Oh yeah.
That is another reason why I can point at this and be like, yeah, this is another thing that video game movies need to learn how to do correctly. Spend freaking money when you're supposed to. This thing looks like they didn't just spend money on the special effects. They rented out city blocks. They constructed this could actually all be CGI. This actually could be like a completely fake city. This entire thing could have been on a green screen. But man, if that was on a green screen, it was a good green screen because it made me believe you built a Pokemon city here. And you loaded it with people. You look at this city and you believe it is lived in by so many people and their Pokemon.
Yes. That's another thing I really like is like the interaction with the Pokemon and the people.
It's amazing how many little things they thought about because... You're just constantly looking at stuff in the background, like, look at that guy doing that thing over there. Look at that guy doing that thing over there. Look at that guy doing that thing over there. Like, you know, he walks into the place where his dad lived, and he has to go by the front desk, and there's just a Trico crawling on the windowsill there. There's little Pokemon just constantly scurrying. Like, you'll see, like, Joltix all the time, like, crawling along, like, electrical wires. Joltix, like, that freaking big. It just hops up for, like, one scene. Like, you see, like, a Venusaur. Like, they had to design a Venusaur, create a total CGI model of that. Just so it can, like, have, like, all you see is, like, the top planet walk between, like, me and Michelle in one scene. And that's all you give it in here. It's like, they had to design all of that for that thing in there. It's really impressive how much work they put into this thing. And the Pokemon look great.
Oh, yeah.
I never understood this from the beginning. When people saw them, I was like, oh, my God, they look so weird having all that fur. And I was like, they look huggable to me. Like, I never once looked at Pikachu and I was like, oh, he's so fluffy. I was like, no, I looked at him and was like, oh, he's so fluffy. Or like Jigglypuff. I remember people being freaked out that Jigglypuff had hair. I was like, what the hell did you think that big swirl on the top of his head was this entire time?
You think it was like a cartoon poop or something? Like
Did you think he just had weird skin that just molded into a perfect quad? Yes, Jigglypuff has hair, people. Come on.
It's like, I like that some of the Pokemon are, like, grotesque but still cute. Like Gengar. He reminded me...
Gengar looked awesome in this thing.
Gengar reminded me so much of Slimer from the Ghostbusters movies. Like, the original puppet. Like,
even more sinister than that.
Like that disgusting, mischievous, like lovable mess of a monster.
Yeah, you get a fight scene with Gengar in here, and man, if you like Gengar, you are going to be happy with that. He looks so cool in that moment. But yeah, you look at it like, that's a ghost-type Pokemon. Like, that does not look like the grass-type Pokemon. That doesn't look like the rock types. That looks like a ghost-type Pokemon just because of the way that moves, like the smoke effects coming off it. It looks so good, but it also looked like freaking Gengar in there. I was watching Jim Sterling talk about the Sonic trailer that came out, and he brought up Detective Pikachu, and I was like, the people behind Detective Pikachu did not make Pika Man, because they realized that after 20 freaking years, no way could they redesign Pikachu to be better than Pikachu has. That's my Jim Sterling impression for everyone out there. It almost feels like the people making this movie went, this thing has sold insanely well for almost a quarter of a century at this point. Why in God's name would we come in here and mess with that? Let's just come in here and make it look realistic enough that you can understand it standing side by side with real people. Our job is done. Walk away from that shit. Game Freak spent 20 plus years getting this right for us. We're not going to tamper with that. Yeah, man. But again, I want to make it clear, I'm not just coming in here and saying, well, I like Pokemon, and I saw a Pokemon in this movie. I'm saying I like Pokemon, and I saw a really good Pokemon in this movie. When we give our scores at the end, I'm going to give this like 2 different scores. I'm going to give it a score for the people out there who you know nothing about Pokemon, like at all. And then I will give it a score for the people out there who do know stuff about Pokemon. So I will try and give it like 2 different opinions on this one, which will be tough because it's going to be tough to like dump all that information out of my head and try and put myself in the shoes of someone that I'm not. But yeah, as this goes along, the rest of this film is basically just Ryan Reynolds interacting with this kid, with Tim. And man, when the first trailer came out, again, I thought all the Pokemon looked great, but I was like, that's Ryan Reynolds. It's going to be hard for me to not picture Ryan Reynolds when I'm watching this movie. It was easy. After maybe 5 minutes into this thing, I just stopped picturing Ryan Reynolds and I just pictured Detective Pikachu. Like, he gives Detective Pikachu his own personality. It still feels like it's got that dash of Ryan Reynolds' personality, because that's what they paid for in here. They paid for Ryan Reynolds in this movie. They won Ryan Reynolds in this movie.
You remember when everyone wanted Danny DeVito to be the voice of Detective Pikachu?
I remember when people enjoyed that meme. Nobody actually wanted that. It's like Waluigi in Smash. It's like, you're all asking for that because it's a funny joke, but if you actually got that, you'd be sitting there like, oh, that's nice. I'm never going to use him. That's nice. I'm using Joker from Persona over here, everybody. Oh my God, they got Snake back in here. Waluigi's still just over there in the corner, no one touching his ass. Yeah, same thing for this. If you got Danny DeVito in this movie, people will be like, oh my goodness, we got him. Oh, we got him in this movie. 5 minutes into this thing, you will be like, oh, that's funny. I guess. Okay. Cool. What have I done? Whereas with this, yeah, Detective Pikachu actually has a fun personality to him and quick. Man, I honestly wondered how many lines Detective Pikachu had in here that were actually improv'd, which is hard to do when you're doing CGI stuff. But again, it feels like this is a movie where they try to do hard stuff in here, where they try to go like, yeah, you know what, if it makes the movie better, let's do it.
Yeah, I saw a picture of Ryan Reynolds with dots all over his face to emulate the expression of Pikachu.
Pikachu is so expressive in here. I would totally see that. He is fun in here. I would say maybe they could have cut out about 5% of his dialogue though, I felt. I think he's got 5% too many lines, 1 out of every 20 lines in here. Okay, he didn't really need that right now.
Yeah, there'd be moments where Pikachu was talking in the background while Tim was having a conversation with somebody else.
Yeah, it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's those little moments where it's that wasn't quite necessary. But the actual interactions between Tim and Pikachu, they're good.
Oh, yeah.
I like them in here. Again, I'm coming in here and I'm praising this thing so much, you guys might actually be a little bit shocked at what my final score of this thing is, because I do have some nitpicks in this thing. But again, I keep talking about how it's it's not, I do count this as a good video game movie, because it's got a plot that makes sense, they spent time and energy to make it look really good, and the characters and the dialogue are all really good in here. I know it seems kind of dumb to come in here and be like, let's applaud it for doing the thing that all movies should actually do, but yeah, man, you've seen our track record on these things. I'm gonna applaud this movie for doing the thing that all movies are supposed to do. They did it, people. They finally learned, what if we actually made this like a film? So, as I said, I do have a couple nitpicks in here, and one of them is that there are moments where this movie gets heavy, and I really enjoyed those moments, but then you also have this movie really being aimed at kids at other moments, but it felt like it didn't know what age range of kids it wanted in here, because there's the intern girl who is teaming up with Tim because she's an intern at this news corporation, but she wants to be a lead reporter. She's his Lois Lane, basically. Yeah. She's gonna get that scoop.
Or April O'Neil, or whatever female
April actually feels closer on this one. Maybe it's because there's anthropomorphic animals in this thing.
Too bad she has a Psyduck instead of a Squirtle.
It was weird that they chose Psyduck for her. When I think of reporter-style Pokemon, I don't think of Psyduck.
I don't know, maybe it's like they were trying to have another Misty character because Misty had Psyduck.
I think it was a nostalgia thing. I think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, because the opening was very nostalgic of the first Pokemon movie.
Yes, very much so. Oh, it absolutely is. You saw this in one of the trailers, so if you want complete surprise, skip ahead by like 5 seconds here, but yeah, Mewtwo is in this movie. And it opens up the way that the original Pokemon movie opens up of Mewtwo is in the lab. And I kept thinking, okay, so they were rewriting this for a Pokemon cinematic universe kind of thing where this is Mewtwo's new origin story. Later on, they actually have a line in here where, like I said, this was made by actual Pokemon fans, because later on, there's an actual line in here that goes, no, all the stuff that happened in Gen 1 Red and Blue Pokemon happened. They come in here and they actually acknowledge 20 years ago in Kanto. I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
Oh, so this wasn't the first time Mewtwo escaped.
Yeah,
so.
I love that little moment in there. But again, if you're not a Pokemon fan, you're gonna have no fucking clue what they're talking about here. But yeah, some of the nitpicks, as I said, sometimes it feels like they don't quite know what age of children they're aiming this at. Because when she popped up, she was like, yeah, I'm here to get the scoop, see? Yeah. And it's just this super stereotypical, ace reporter. She's trying to be the stealthy sleuth type, but still dressed like spunky teenage reporter kind of character. And this would be great if this movie was aimed at 5-year-olds, but I get the sense it's aimed at 10 to 13-year-olds because there's so many other things in here that seem like they're aimed at that age range. But then her one character specifically seems like she's from a film that's aimed at a younger audience. Maybe that was just me. I don't know how you feel. I don't know.
It's I feel like they're trying to get more a general age audience because Pokemon has been around for so long, so there's going to be fans both young and old.
True.
So I kind of felt like they were trying to have a broad.
I can definitely see them wanting to do
that. A broad demographic.
I can definitely see them wanting to do that, but when it comes to her character specifically, it felt like she was aimed specifically at a target age. And it was a younger audience than a lot of the other stuff in this movie. Basically what I'm trying to say is, she didn't feel like she fit in the same world as a lot of the other characters in here, because she did feel a lot more cartoonish.
I guess, but there were a lot of other characters that felt kind of cartoonish too.
Okay, I think I know where you're going, and that's my second character that I have a problem with. There is this guy who he built Rhymesay, and he has a son. And the son is I'm evil businessman. Yes, I'm evil businessman. I looked at that kid, and I looked at that guy, and I was like, oh no. Because, Tim and Pikachu, they don't feel like that cartoonish to me. You've got, this guy in the underground fighting ring, who he feels a little exaggerated, but, he feels like you could still buy seeing him. At least I felt like I could buy seeing him in, an all-ages version of, an underground crime syndicate. He felt like he would fit in the all-ages version of that. Whereas, the guy who's the head of the police, the actual, science guy who built the entire city, all of them felt they all feel like they fit in general. You could put them in a DreamWorks or in a Pixar-style film. Their type of character would fit in those type of movies. But then, specifically, him and the reporter felt like they came from an Illumination film. If I'm going animated crossovers here and comparisons, he was my next character that I was about to jump to. Then again, I don't know if that's the character you were going with.
Yeah, that too. But I was also thinking about, like, the underground guy, he seemed like kind of like a cartoonish punk.
Yeah.
But it's like, I let that slide. It didn't bother me as much because, like, I don't know. It's like we all live in a Pokemon world.
The reason why I let that guy slide, but I didn't quite let the reporter and I didn't let the boss's son slide. I didn't let the guy who's in charge of the news organization, because he's the guy who runs the news facility. I didn't let their true character slide is because you saw them in the more like, hey, this is how the Pokemon world functions and we all work together. When you saw that guy in the underground guy in like the fur coat and no shirt and like tattoos all over him, he is in an underground fighting ring where you have flashy colors and like you've got like not Loudreds. What are they called?
Explodes or like.
Oh wait, it is Loudred because Exploud is the super evolved form. Yes. But yeah, you've got them there like beatboxing, and he's up there with like a giant like critical hit sign behind him. He was supposed to be like a weird DJ. I was like, he's in a setting where I buy him. Also, the entire time he was on screen, Pikachu kept making fun of him. So it felt like he was supposed to be a joke, whereas the other ones were supposed to be like serious characters. So I was kind of like,
oh, I see what you mean.
That's what it was.
Like they were meant to be taken seriously, so that's kind of why they felt more cartoony.
That's why. Yes. Okay. We finally got there. That's why our reviews take so long. It's a journey, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I finally got there. That's why the reporter and the guy running the news organization didn't feel like they fit in the rest of this world, but that guy did feel like he fit because that guy was supposed to be stupid, I felt like. Whereas they were supposed to be serious. I was like, they're kind of cartoons in here. So yeah, I did have a problem with them. Also, there's other like little moments in here. Like there's a moment here which they bring out like a big CGI thing, and that felt a little too simple to me. Like they bring out this thing that literally lets them like relive things that have happened. And I was like, oh, so you just really need some answers right now in the story. Okay, that felt like a little bit lazy to me. I'm not saying you could have done something like that, but you know, like security footage would have worked just fine. But I guess this was the flashier, cooler thing to look at.
It's like, like basically his excuse was like, this shows you things the security camera doesn't want you to see.
That's what it was, but I would have been fine more of a thing like, yeah, there's other security footage that was destroyed and we found it. Like something like that. Because there is this whole like, citywide conspiracy going on. Like this is one of those it goes straight to the top kind of things. And they actually do bring up here things like you can't really go to the cops because the cops might actually be working for the bad guy. We don't know this thing. So yeah, there's other ways that I feel like they could have gone around that. I really hope that wasn't a spoiler by saying it's like, oh yeah, the cops might be bad guys in this thing because again, this really is kind of like baby's first mystery. It's kind of what it is. Like, I feel like if you...
Look, if you could go to the cops, then there wouldn't be a Detective Pikachu, because the cops would have solved everything.
Yes, exactly. But again, it's one of those things where, like, if you've seen a detective film before, you know what's coming in this. You know what's coming in this movie. But again, it's aimed at the kids out there to be their first detective thing. It's like, all right, you know what? That's fine. It works. It works for them. Totally fine for them. So yeah, I don't really take off too many points for being that predictable, but I still have to put a few little notches in there. Also, the end of this film, I thought the end of this film was great. The end of this film, it is one of those big, like, spectacular, I don't want to say bunch of explosions, but there are a bunch of explosions. But yeah, it is a big, let's have Pokemon going nuts. Let's have, like, all this stuff happening.
It's not a dance party for all of those of you who are worried about that, because I know that's a big thing that a lot of animated movies like to end off on.
No. Although, if during the credits they had Pikachu doing that, like, gymnastics thing that's been going around the internet the past couple days, I'd be fine with that. I would have been fine with that being, like, the post-credit stinger. There is no post-credit stinger.
No.
But I will say... when the credits start up, they got the actual, like, guy who designed Pokemon to come in here and draw all the people in the movie. Man, I got, like, chills at that. I was like, that is the most adorable goddamn thing. That is awesome. I love that. I think that is such a nice touch that they put in here. Mm-hmm. Man, I hope someone doesn't say that was a spoiler in here. But it's like, can you really spoil? Like,
can you really spoil the credits? Like,
they did a fun thing in the credits. Plus, you don't know what it's going to look like. It's still going to be a fun thing to see that. But anyway, Yeah, it's weird that the movie that I'm the most worried about spoilers with isn't in-game, it's Detective Pikachu. But yeah, I have to keep coming back around to this. I think that the biggest problem with this film, for general audiences out there, is that they don't do anything really aside from the like, hey man, we're friends, to introduce you to the idea of a world of Pokemon. They don't introduce you to that. And I do know there's going to be a lot of people out there who don't know anything about Pokemon who are going to go into this, and they're going to be kind of confused at this. I mean, there is a big moment towards the end that is like a dun, dun, dun kind of reveal about someone in here. And it comes entirely back around to a running gag about a specific Pokemon. And they do not stop at all to explain that running gag to you. Not once in this thing. They don't even stop to really explain to you what that Pokemon is that the gag is about. So, yeah, you're just gonna have no idea what, like, this big reveal thing at the end is. You're gonna be totally confused about that. And, yeah, it's a little bit... it's a little upsetting that they could have done more to kind of introduce people to this. The way that I kept talking about this is, it's clear they want to build from this.
Yes.
It's clear they want this to not just be one Pokemon movie. And based on what the early projections are, this thing, it looks like it's going to make a ton of cash this weekend. It looks like this will be the start of, like, it looks like there's going to be Warner Brothers going, listen, we might not have figured out that superhero cinematic universe, but we're going to get this Pokemon cinematic universe going, goddammit. And I'm all for that. Between this and Shazam, it feels like the people at Warner Brothers finally went, God damn it, the dark and gritty thing isn't working. What on else can we do? What if we tried to be family friendly? Family friendly Pokemon and superheroes? Are there people out there that want such a thing? Yeah, it feels like Warner Brothers is finally figuring out, oh my God, well, that's our niche. Well, that's the thing we're good at.
The thing is, like, I've always associated Warner Brothers with family-friendly stuff because Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes. Like, honestly, come on now.
Yes, so it's like, you guys, you figured it out. Like, this actually is a good film for kids. Like, this Shazam, like, man, kids, you are knocking it out of the park with that audience, Warner Brothers. So, yeah, they do want to start up way more Pokemon movies with this. I keep looking at Detective Pikachu, like, this really feels like if the first Marvel film wasn't Iron Man, it was Ant-Man.
Yes. You told me that.
Yeah, I've mentioned this to you many times. But it's like, okay, if you went into Ant-Man and it was the very first movie, you would have watched it like, okay, so stealing this thing, okay, make some shrink. Okay, this is a fun little shrinking adventure. What, the Avengers dropped an island? What the hell does that mean? What are you who are the Avengers? What's S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't know what S.H.I.E.L.D. is. Why is he dropping onto this compound with a giant A on the roof? Who's the guy with the bird wings? Why is he fighting Ant-Man now? What is happening here? It's kind of like that. Comic book fans still would have been losing their mind over that because even if there hadn't been other movies, they were like, I know what S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers and Falcon are. All right, this is cool. Pokemon fans will love this. But if you know nothing about Pokemon, yeah, that's really... It's hard for me to recommend this. I would give it like a 5 for the a 5 out of 10 for the non-Pokemon fans. Because I do think that there's really good acting. There's really good characters. You're going to enjoy that stuff in here. But it's going to be hard for you to get too much enjoyment out of this when every couple of minutes you have to stop and go, wait, what? What? You're now just talking about things that I don't understand at all. Like with a completely straight face. And there's nothing like there's a big scene in here that has to do with like Magikarps and Gyarados in here. And they don't even, like, stop to, like, introduce that concept really at all. Like, at all. And, man, I was just looking at that, like, I can only imagine how lost someone in the audience is going to be at this. But I still wouldn't say, like, it's bad. I'd just put it, like, 5 out of 10 because I do believe, like, yeah, man, good characters, fun dialogue. There's some entertaining stuff in here.
And so what would you rate it as a Pokemon fan?
As a Pokemon fan, I would give it a 7.5. I would give it a 7.5 because, as I said... Yeah, some of the characters, it feels like they didn't quite know where they wanted to take them. They felt a little bit too cartoonish for the scenes that they were in. I do like a lot of the dialogue. There's some dialogue that doesn't quite hit. Also, I didn't talk about this. There is one whole big action scene in here that has to do with Torterras. And I looked at that and just went, that just really feels like that feels like it should be something that we should keep talking about, right? That feels like a big plot. No, we're gone. We're never coming back to that.
Okay.
Okay, and yeah, that was like, that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, which is a shame because I love Torterra. He's one of my favorites. But it was a weird moment. It was a very weird moment. And there's a lot of other, like, just kind of small weird moments.
Yeah.
Not worth mentioning. The one with the Torterras is the only one that to me is, like, worth going, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so 2 of the characters in here I kind of had problems with. But the rest of the characters really enjoyed the dialogue in here. Thought all the acting was really freaking solid in here. I think the movie looks amazing. Yeah, I would give it a 7.5. What about you?
I'd probably give it more like an 8.5.
Okay.
And as a non-Pokemon fan, maybe like a 6 or something, because I still think it would have been very enjoyable.
Yes, there is a lot to enjoy.
There is a lot to enjoy.
It just comes down to your ability to roll with punches.
Right.
Like, how caught up on, I don't know what the hell that means, are you going to be in this movie? Is what that comes down to. And that's hard for us to judge. But yeah, like, 5, 6, like, I was kind of going back and forth between those two as well. But yeah, 8.5. I'm glad that you got that much enjoyment out of it. Yeah, it is a fun movie, everybody. It is a fun film, especially for the Pokemon fans. Because, man, you could hate all the characters in here. You could hate all the dialogue. You could have so many problems with this. If you are a Pokemon fan and you have always just wanted to have that experience of, what would it be like to walk around in a Pokemon world? This does it.
Or if you like... Or if it's like you spot your favorite Pokemon, like that makes the trip all worth it. Like
I was pretty happy when Bulbasaur popped out in here.
Yeah.
Bulbasaur, my good Bulbasaur boy. Yeah.
Yes, continue to be a good boy in this movie.
He was. Bulbasaur was the best boy in this movie. Yes. If a Chespin was on someone's shoulder, I would have been like, sold everything I possibly need here. I got a lot of good ones in here. I will say, this is going to be the most spoiled, bratty thing to complain about in here. But towards the end of this, I did get a little upset that they started reusing Pokemon over and over again. Because for the first, like, first 75% of this movie, I'm like, it's that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and over this, and that, and this, and that. Towards, like, but, like, the last act is like, and here's all the Pokemon that you've already seen. I'm like, oh, they could have used some more. And it's like, but, man, I saw so many in this thing. It is like a spoiled brat thing to be like, but I wanted more in here.
Like, yeah, but it's like at the same time, it's like they spend like so much time and money and effort making these Pokemon real. So it's like, I understand them using...
There's a few Sneasel walk cycles that you're going to see a couple times in here. But, man, am I going to come in here and complain that Sneasel looked like that other Sneasel? No, man. There's like... Sneasels just walking around. There's a group of squirrels just chilling in the middle of the subway stop. I'm not gonna be mad. Not subway, train stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a squirrel squad in here. None of them had sunglasses on. That would have been dope. But yeah, man. And what really surprised me is how many Pokemon's names I know. Because I kept going, it's that one. It's that one. It's that one. It's that one. There's literally only 2 Pokemon that popped up in here whose names I could not remember. The Mushroom and Buffro. Bouffalant. Is that his name?
I think so.
Okay, because
Buffront is like the fan name
that's
that
why
was given before the official
That's why
name.
I call him Buffro, because that one sticks with me way more.
Yeah.
Our dog is down here right now. There's so many, like... And there's so many that they're literally there for, like, split second. Like, there's a lady, like, in the background at one moment, like, just holding a Togepi. Mm-hmm. And it's there for, like, 2 seconds. And they designed a Togepi to move around in those 2 seconds. Sorry. I'm going off on this thing. Spoiler time. Spoiler time for everyone out there. Spoiler time is that Peach is adorable.
Yes. She's secretly a Pokemon.
Yes. What are you talking about? Yeah, spoiler. Man, it's so weird to talk about spoiler time in here because we all know who the bad guy is. Like, even when they were coming in here and being like, the son of Bill Nighy.
The big evil business guy.
Evil businessman. It's the real bad guy in here. I was just like, he's so cartoonishly evil that it feels like this. If this is not a red herring.
That is such a red herring. And if it's not.
If he's not. He's like, even as far as red herrings go, it was so clearly a red herring, it was still bad. Like, it was still so obviously, you're too evil for it to actually be. But I have to remind myself, it's aimed at kids, and a little kid out there would be like, well, he's acting really bad, but I know I can trust the other guy because he said I could trust him. No.
Yeah, it's like, because this is like aimed at kids, I wasn't sure if he was a red herring or if like
I did have that moment later on.
Yeah, it's like,
which, in all fairness, I will give the movie this. They actually came up with a pretty good explanation for why we saw him doing some really evil stuff in here. Which, yeah, we're in the spoiler corner. We can go ahead and say that. Everybody out there has their Pokemon partner. That Pokemon that they just go hand in hand with. Bill Nye's is a Ditto. And so, yeah, there are moments in here where you see the sun being super evil. It's a Ditto doing it. And like I mentioned earlier, there's a joke that comes back around that is a big, like, dun, dun, dun kind of reveal. Mm-hmm. It has to do with the fact that there are some people you see in there who have sunglasses on doing evil things. Put sunglasses on, they have the little tiny Ditto pupils, which looks really damn... Okay. You guys out there saying, oh, Mr. Mime looked creepy in here. Mr. Mime looked great in here.
Yes.
I actually thought Mr. Mime was one of the best animated characters in this
Oh, yeah, like, especially when he was actually miming and everything.
He was so good in this.
Oh, that was so great.
Yeah. Although, as I mentioned, there are times in here where I couldn't quite tell what age range they were aiming this at because a lot of the, oh my God, Peach is like falling asleep in your arms. There are moments where it's like, yeah, this is really kiddie stuff in here. But during the Mr. Mime thing, they mimed out about to set him on fire by dumping gasoline on him. I was like, that seemed a little too dark for the audience that a lot of the other things in here have made me think you're aiming yourself at. That was like the one scene that kind of went in the opposite direction of like when I was like, yeah, the reporter seems like she's aimed at a younger audience than the rest of this film. That seems like it's aimed at an older audience than the rest of this film. But yeah, you want to talk about something here that looks really creepy? Ditto's eyes on like a human being is creepy as hell. That was so, that was nasty. Mm-hmm. Okay, but what else was there? Yeah, so Bill Nye is the actual bad guy in here, and he wanted to kidnap Mewtwo because he's had a disease. It's classic kids movie disease where they never say what it is, just disease. And
it's caused him to be like paralyzed.
He's in a wheelchair, yeah. So he wants to put his brain inside the body of Mewtwo because he believes that Pokemon are like superior beings because they're capable of evolving into higher, better versions of themselves.
They also have superpowers. Yeah, that's a pretty good thing to have.
So he has invented this gas that causes Pokemon to go crazy. Because if a Pokemon is crazy, then he can put the soul of a human being into a Pokemon. Surprise, surprise. At that moment, as soon as he reveals that, I think the entire audience just went, oh, that's why Detective Pikachu, like, has no memory and, like, he's trying to figure out, like, who he is. And, okay, it's Tim's dad. Tim's dad is inside the Pokemon.
But, like, the way he gets inside Pikachu is different.
It's slightly different. Yes, it is different.
Yes.
Yeah, they do some good stuff with Mewtwo in here. They do good stuff with the whole, like, Mewtwo really doesn't like humans, but he realizes some humans are okay, so I'm not going to be a total dick to everyone, fine. I was honestly almost expecting like a moment in here in which, like, at the very end of this when he's helping out Tim, and he is returning Tim's dad to normal, I was honestly expecting a moment where he like would turn to Tim and go, 20 years ago, there was a boy. You remind me of him. Like, something like that. Mm-hmm. We didn't get that, but, like, the Mewtwo escaped from the Kanto region 20 years ago. That was enough for me to go, yay! I get that reference. Pete, you look like you were just, like, about to, like, pass out. You're too cute for me to continue this. So, yeah, it is very weird seeing, like, all the humans get, like, sucked into Pokemon's bodies, though. I was not expecting that to happen.
No, I wasn't either.
That was kind of a weird direction for this to go, but... It does tie into what Detective Pikachu is. Man, I really just like Detective Pikachu as a character. There's a scene in the movie where Ryan Reynolds has split off from Tim, which this is something I gotta say. I really appreciate this. I really appreciate that they did not do the stereotypical thing of Tim going, I don't even know if I can trust you, Pikachu. Oh, I can never work with you again. They did have them break up, but it was more because Detective Pikachu didn't even know if he could trust
Yes, because
Detective
he has
Pikachu.
Amnesia at this point, so
And
he
he was
doesn't
like-
know like what he did.
And he sees like a clip that makes him go, oh my God, maybe I'm the reason that your dad died, Tim. Maybe I'm the reason that this happened to him. Like, maybe I actually betrayed him. I can't even trust myself. And that to me is so much, I understand he got for drama, have the two of them split up at some point, but that to me is so much better than having like them actually have like a breakup moment.
Yeah, like
here.
a fight.
Like, yeah, I really appreciate them going in this direction more. Also, I love seeing the progression of Tim in here, going from not understanding his dad to understanding his dad actually didn't want to be with him, to also understand, like, I actually do kind of have a calling to be a detective. I also really enjoyed seeing him kind of learn to be a Pokemon trainer like he always wanted to be. Because Pikachu tells him, listen, Pokemon, they can't really understand what you're saying, but they can understand what you feel. And there's that moment where Pikachu, he's injured. Pikachu's dying, everybody, and he needs someone to save him. And then a Bulbasaur comes out, and the reporter's just like, they can't understand you, Tim. He goes, no, but they can understand what I feel. I was like, yes, become that Pokemon trainer, Tim. I was cheering him on in that moment. I really enjoyed that.
Also because of Bulbasaur.
Yeah. Bulbasaur for a long time was my number one guy. He's still in my top 5. He's still in my top 3, probably. Yeah, Bulbasaur, good boy. So... That's what your Halloween costume should be, Peach. We're gonna get you a big bulb on your back, and you will love it. She loved that Ghostbusters costume we put her in for last Halloween. Anyway, Peach, you're distracting me because you're so cute. Where is my clickbait dog? There she is. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? I also did enjoy that when you think about how Tim pushed his dad away. Tim always thought that the dad was pushing Tim away, but in fact, it was actually Tim pushing the dad away when the dad actually wanted to reconnect with him. I really enjoyed that moment of like Pikachu going away because now Tim is the one who's actually like, no, come back. Like Tim is actually the one who wants to go after him and does not want to split up. Also, I like that once you learn that Tim's dad did kind of, I said that Tim's dad didn't push him away, but they both pushed each other away. And once you kind of learn that Tim's dad wanted Tim back, he wanted him to come back to him, but he didn't really know how to reach out to him.
Yeah.
There's so many jokes in here about Detective Pikachu being lonely. There's like that whole moment you saw it in the first trailer when Mr. Mime is miming out, you can shove it. He goes, can, push, shove. I push people away, and then I'm upset when they leave. Like, it's little moments like that that makes you realize, oh yeah, man, that's Tim's dad kind of getting out there his own emotional stuff. So I really enjoyed that in here as well. But at the end of this movie, Bill Nye, he puts his mind inside of Mewtwo, and you've got Mewtwo with Bill Nye's voice as Mewtwo fighting Ryan Reynolds' Pikachu in there. And what I just described sounds like it should be really stupid. It sounds like you should look at that and be like, oh, you two actors, how much did they pay you for this? God, guys, I know both of you don't know anything about any of this, and this feels like in any other movie that had been done worse than this, you would look at it and feel bad for the actors. But instead, both these actors, they were giving it their all. They were actually, like, getting into this. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that these actors showed up to work. Bill Nye, who probably knows nothing about Pokemon at all, he showed up there, and every time that he talked about Pikachu or Mewtwo, I bought it. And then at the end of this, when he's fighting Pikachu, I was like, that's actually, like, I'm buying this. I can totally applaud Bill Nye inside of Mewtwo on this one. It works. It's so freaking cool to me. Then again, this is probably, if I had to put money on this, I'd say he probably has grandkids who are big Pokemon fans.
That wouldn't surprise me.
But he showed up and wanted to make those grandkids proud.
That's like one of the reasons why like so many of the actors like continue to be in the Avengers because like their kids were big fans.
Most superhero movies,
Yeah.
like, period. A lot of superhero movies get big name actors because they're like, yeah, my kids like it, so screw it. And a lot of times that doesn't work out. A lot of times big name actors will be in really shitty things because their kids like it. I like that this movie, it's a fun movie, man. I enjoyed this movie. I do think that this is a good film. And I'm happy to say we finally have that. It's just, you're still missing that one piece of, you forgot to explain this to the general audience that's out there. And I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes. Last time I checked Rotten Tomatoes, it had like a 70%. I can picture 30% of the audience is out there having no idea what Pokemon is at all. And I feel like that's the split that's going to come down on this one. Any other spoilery stuff to talk about in here?
I don't think so.
Aside from us just going, this Pokemon was here, and there was this Pokemon, and this Pokemon, and then there was this Pokemon. Aside from us just going through and doing that, I don't know what else to do. By the way, the Blu-ray for this had better have like one of those pop-up video things where like it just goes scene by scene, just pop up like, just watch the movie, but it will just have like a feature that just pops up and just like points to Pokemon there, Pokemon there, Pokemon there. In case you missed it, bam, 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 bam.
Like,
I know I missed a lot.
I want the Blu-ray features to be like the deleted scenes of Ryan Reynolds cursing, because I heard there was quite a few.
Oh, that'd be fun. I don't know if they could put that on there though. I do want commentary. I want commentary from Ryan Reynolds on the Blu-ray, but of him as Detective Pikachu.
Yes.
I want to have commentary from Danny DeVito on the Blu-ray of him just like, I don't know why I'm here. All right, sure, I guess this is as close as you're gonna get. It's weird that Endgame and this movie came out so close to each other, and yet out of the two of them, the one that I want to own on Blu-ray the most, just so that I can freeze on scene after scene the most, is this one. Because in Endgame, I want to pause at that big in battle like over and over again and go, oh, there, and check that thing out, and see that thing there. But in this one, I want to pause on every freaking moment to go, what's that in the background? And that thing, because there's something everywhere, and I am blown away by that. But we both really enjoyed this thing. And if you haven't, man, I tried saying, like, if you don't know anything about Pokemon, if you don't know anything about Pokemon, the final score that I will give this, though, is if you have a kid that likes Pokemon, 10 out of 10, like, you better take them to see this.
Yes, please.
Like, if you have a kid who likes Pokemon, there is no reason to not take them to this. That's another thing that I gotta point out. There's been so many of those, like, we're going to adapt a thing that's made for children. And then you watch it and it's like, what freaking child is this made for? I saw someone on Twitter saying, I showed my mom the Sonic trailer and she said, they can't show that to children, it'll give them nightmares. I'm like, your kids are gonna love Detective Pikachu.
Yes.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back later this weekend with Tolkien. Probably, maybe. I don't know. We're gonna try and see Tolkien. But if not, we'll be back next weekend with John Wick, and we will also be returning to the post-Geekout retrospectives, because we never reviewed John Wick 1 or John Wick 2, so we will do a post-Geekout retrospective on that. But thank you guys for tuning in. Come back next time. Bye.
Bye.